was really trying to take this show slowly because I enjoy watching it from week to week. So when we did that press conference a couple of weeks ago, I watched a couple episodes, but then I stopped, and then I've been trying to watch them weekly. But last night I was like, okay, I have to know all about this season, so I dived into it. Can I just say that episode 9 is arguably the best episode of Hacks?
Ah, thank you. I think so too. I think nine and 10 to me, which feel a little bit like, you know, a pair. I feel the exact same way, and it's so weird to say that. It's like I think people are like, really? How can you choose? But nine is I think my favorite episode we've ever done. It is what the series has been building towards.
Well, I mean, there's just so much depth and layers to it. And again, if you work in the industry, there's just so many elements of it that hit so hard. I mean that scene with Ava at the bar where she's just kind of talking to the guy and kind of saying like she's venting. And it's like in the moment, because I think we've all kind of experienced that. We were like, "Oh no, 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 don't do that. Like it's gonna blow up." And then sure enough, like the next day, it's like this media storm and wow, I mean it's just really just phenomenal writing across the board.
Thank you. I mean, we had to think very carefully about that because we didn't want it to be intentional or, self-sabotage. We wanted it to be sort of a casual conversation amongst two former coworkers, and also to make it a little bit less nefarious on the part of her former job. It's like John Oliver style show. On the contrary, we did want them, as Lewis, her former boss, says, like, oh, we're already doing this story. This is just part of a big cover up. So it was like very carefully crafted because we wanted to make it believable, but also, again, not make Ava so responsible for what becomes like a huge issue for her and Deborah. Um, because again, she's just kind of, as you said, venting. She's just venting about something that was really uncool of the network, which is censorship. So that was one of many, many parts of the puzzle that I had to think a lot about so that it was just right.
How many of the situations found in hacks are drawn from your personal experiences or your wife's personal experience? Because it just seems like they're so just grounded in reality that I feel like they have to come from somewhere.
Yeah, I would say it's interesting. So many things and so many characters we draw on elements of our life and our experience. Obviously, like, in terms of just showing the behind the curtains of late night, Jen Statsky, our co-creator, worked on Fallon, and Andrew Law, who's one of our writers and has been since the beginning, worked on Seth Meyers. And so we do have writers in the room. And also we had Merrill Marco this season, who co-created Letterman, when he had his late night show, his late late show. And so, there's a lot that we draw from real life, but also in terms of what this episode deals with. It's just, I think, something that we're all experiencing in the industry, especially what Deborah talks about in her monologue at the end of nine. The disruption of tech and the way in which publicly traded conglomerates and having to drive profit and grow profit, not just have make a profit, um, has changed not only, the television industry, but also most industries. I mean, so many people, I think, can relate to what it's like to have downward pressure and to have things disrupted by technology. And, you know, so I think we took from it what we're experiencing at large, but there's not exactly like slipping up and saying something at a bar that then becomes a news story has never happened. Knock wood. It's never happened to me. There's not a ton of specific things, but even our experience of what Deborah says about Winnie Landell, Helen Hunt's character, she in the monologue, she says there are good people on the business side who want to do right by artists, but they have a lot of different gods to answer to. And Winnie Landell says that herself. She said, I just want to make this show succeed. I started my career PAing for Terrence Malick. I really want to support artists, but that's not the world we live in. This is a business, and we have to make the business work, which I think is also a very understandable point of view and perspective to come from. So, like that's a very long-winded way of saying, yeah, we draw a lot from um, our experience in television, but also, you know, a lot of the specifics are invented.
Did the strikes
Mm,
and all the conversation between like what was going on with the WGA and the whole AI fight, those things, and then obviously having the production shut down a little bit because of the horrible fires that happened. Did some of the stuff kind of go into the show after all this stuff happened? Like, did you change scripts because of that?
no, and actually, that's interesting you asked because last season we had a lot of people ask, did the work stoppage and the strikes, did that change the season for season three? And we were like,
Yeah.
no, because we it was pencils down. We stopped. It was a strike, so we didn't change anything. But that experience and the experience I think that a lot of people in the industry are going through, again, both on the writer and actor side, and also the executive side, I feel like a lot of those experiences and what happened during the strikes actually was more utilized in season four, sort of became a bigger part of season four. I mean, we always knew that Deborah was going to get this white whale and get her late night show. We also knew that she would walk away from it because we didn't want to just be making a show about making late night. But the what she talks about and the way in which she leaves, those details were figured out, and I think they were influenced and impacted by what we all experienced during the strikes.
The entire season, I felt like, explored the idea of actions have consequences. That was
Mm.
something that I've really kind of picked up on a lot. And it continuously came up even when I thought it was resolved in certain scenes. Then it comes back really at the end. Can you talk a little bit about the growth of these characters and like what led to a season that really kind of dived into that? Because I feel like in the previous three seasons, stuff happens, but there it always kind of goes back, oh, they're back. And this season you really have that shift in tone and you see it. There's a natural hatred towards one another based on what their actions were and the consequences that led afterwards.
Well, we try and make the show really grounded. We try and make it very believable and real. And we have since day one. I mean, that hasn't changed. I think in this instance, Deborah's offering Ava the head writer job and then lying about why she had to take it away was really hurtful. And then Ava's move to blackmail Deborah, while in some ways altruistic because she was handcuffing herself to this person for their mutual benefit, it was something that someone like Deborah, who values loyalty and has been betrayed in her history so much, she's like a mom boss. And we were like, this would not just go away. This is not something that they would be able to move past without actually dealing with it. And so, in keeping with what we've always done as a series, we wanted to, truthfully deal with that and the fallout of what is it like to make a show where you have such high expectations, such intense pressure, downward pressure from the network, obviously a huge audience like they've never had before, and then also to have their attention. I mean, grist is always a part of the show. The grist between Deborah and Ava is what makes the show and what
Yes.
makes them grow. But this season, they have all of these other factors to deal with. Plus, it's the one that's probably the most personal. They've had mutual betrayal. So we felt like stretching the rubber band was really important. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So for us, it was like it's only going to make their reunion and the resolution that much richer and also different from what we've experienced in the past. In the past, Deborah's sued Ava, but then dropped the lawsuit. They've gone through these like breakup and makeup things, but we wanted this one to feel different. We didn't want it to feel the same. And it gave Gene and Hannah, I think, a different gear to play in. And and I have to say, it was so fun to watch them and also to write scenes where they were really clapping back and intense. It was like, it just felt like a whole different mode that kept it fresh for us.
I will tell you the shift in tone for the first like 4 to 5 episodes was really kind of jarring to see because you become so used to like what you just said. Like it's like, okay, like they almost felt like empty threats, right?
Right.
But this time that was like that's just not happening anymore. This
Yeah.
is this is really like not cool what you did and vice versa. And I wonder, did you ever have any concern for the people watching this if they were going to kind of like go like, oh, this is not the hacks that I came to love? Did you
Yes,
have any concerns?
we talked a lot about it, and I think one of the things we one of the I think the biggest concern we had was we didn't want people to feel like we've seen this before. That to us would be the worst thing. Having someone go, oh, in episode 2 they make up. They did that the season when they were on the road. She found out about this betrayal and this email that she sent, and then they made up in the next episode. And so we didn't want to retread, both for the audience and also for ourselves. We do know that people often like them to be in harmony, and yet season 3, they're friends the whole time, but the whole show is them butting heads, whether it's about not tipping somebody or it's about whatever their ideological differences are, about like apologizing for material that you should have been canceled for. They scream at each other. You know what I mean? They really do butt heads. It's the butting of heads that crack them open. So to me, yes, I understand why people are like, we want people to be in sync. And the truth is that these women are in sync, and part of their love language is their friction. Their friction is like the beauty of the show. So I think to lesser or greater degree, I think Jen, Lucia, and I had concerns about it, but we never felt like it was the wrong decision. We felt like it was the right decision. We just felt like people just have to buckle up and get ready for the ride. And also, hopefully, they trust at this point that these characters will at some point reconnect. In that reconnection, it'll feel that much better, Like again, it's about like the tension. It's like you have to go up the roller coaster to go down.
I have to ask this. It's a great closing question, I think. The cameos, the guest roles, how do you get all these people involved and more specifically Julianne Nicholson as the dance mom? I mean, this is probably genius casting if I've ever seen it.
Well, it depends. Some people like Rosie O'Donnell, we knew was a fan of the show. She had been on the podcast. And she was someone who obviously has like a very unique perspective to give Deborah advice about making a show like this. Carol Burnett, we heard, was a fan of the show, and we were like, oh my gosh, how perfect, because we really wanted Deborah to get sage wisdom from someone that she looked up to, and who else would she look up to? I mean, she's a living legend. So that was,
Yes.
we shot at Television City next to her stage where she shot the Carol Burnett show. So it was like such a goosebump moment. And then for Julianne Nicholson, the character is so balls to the wall, over the top, and goes crazy. She absolutely, it's very hard comedy. And we thought it might be funniest if someone who's a really great dramatic actress and can play it super grounded played the role. And Julianne, we had thought about for other things in the series because we are such fans of Julianne Nicholson. She's such an incredible actress. And so we were like, would she do this? I mean, the woman is goes on a bender and then has to have cocaine blown up her butt. Like it's so absolutely outside of what she's done before. But I actually think you can tell that she's funny. I mean, in I, Tanya, she is very funny in that movie. There are things that she does, and you're like, okay, she's got a sense of humor. So we reached out and said, we're huge fans. Would you consider this? And she said, I would love to do comedy and not have a child die or some like murder cover up, or she's like, that sounds great to do a very, very different thing. And she was so game for anything, really threw herself into the role, was so physical, was so good, learned all those dances. She's not a dancer. Threw herself into a bar cart in episode 9 in Slippery Slope when we had like the real like falling down moment for her. So that was a dream having her do it. I'm so glad that she said yes.
I am just so happy for you and everyone involved with this show because I think you hear this from not just me, but from everyone. It just continues to get better and better. And
Thank
I appreciate your time as always. And I love talking to you.
you too. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for watching and supporting it.